For years, Gene Deal had been warning anyone who would listen that Diddy's day of reckoning was coming. People laughed, called him bitter, said he was chasing clout. But now, almost 2 years after those shocking raids on Diddy's mansions, everything Gene predicted has come true. The same man who once stood beside Diddy during his rise now stands on the outside, watching him fall. And what's more chilling is how accurately he saw it coming. Gene said Diddy would face time in federal prison, but that he'd somehow still find
When the judge announced Diddy's 50-month sentence, the courtroom fell silent. Prosecutors had asked for 11 years, arguing that the damage he caused stretched far beyond what any single charge could capture. But somehow, the mogul who had once bragged about being untouchable walked away with less than half that. Even more shocking was what the judge admitted. Diddy's crimes went deeper than what appeared on paper. He mentioned the relevant conduct, a legal term that quietly acknowledged all the uncharged crimes, the drugs.
Everyone in the industry seemed to be saying the same thing. Diddy must have cut a deal. Because how else could a man surrounded by drugs, weapons, and mountains of evidence walk away almost untouched? It wasn't just random speculation either. Both Gene Deal and Suge Knight have claimed for years that Diddy was protected, that he had ties to the same agencies that later came after him. To them, Diddy wasn't just a celebrity, he was an informant. And if those rumors are
For someone who spent decades living like royalty, prison has been a nightmare. Gone are the mansions, the parties, the jets. Now Diddy wakes up in a small cell, surrounded by men who see him as either a target or a trophy. Reports say he's been attacked once already. An inmate allegedly tried to shank him before a guard intervened. Whether it was a real hit or a setup to make him look vulnerable, no one knows. But one thing is certain, he's scared. Scared of retaliation, scared of losing control, scared of being forgotten.
Inside those prison walls, Diddy's confidence has cracked. The man who once claimed to be unbreakable is now facing the kind of silence that no amount of fame can drown out. Reports suggest he's struggling with depression, that he's spending long hours isolated from others. Gene Deal, who knows him better than most, said it bluntly. Diddy might not survive this mentally. He compared him to Epstein, predicting that the pressure and humiliation could drive him over the edge. And maybe he's right.
Even behind bars, Diddy's not done scheming. His lawyers are already fighting to appeal the sentence, arguing that the judge was biased and misused the evidence. But that's not all. Rumor has it Diddy's legal team has gone as far as sending a formal petition to President Trump begging for a pardon. They claim he's remorseful, reformed, misunderstood. Yet behind the scenes, he's also trying another route, the RDAP program. That's a federal rehabilitation plan for inmates with substance issues. And if accepted,
While Diddy fights to shorten his sentence, Cassie Ventura finally gets to breathe. Her letter to the court wasn't about revenge, it was about survival. She described years of control, humiliation, and pain. She said she'd been groomed, manipulated, and silenced for over a decade, trapped in a nightmare disguised as love. The court heard her trembling voice through those words, describing how she had to move her entire family out of New York, terrified that Diddy might find a way out and come after. While Diddy fights to shorten his sentence, Cassie Ventura finally gets to breathe. Her letter to the court wasn't about revenge, it was about survival. She described years of control, humiliation, and pain. She said she'd been groomed, manipulated, and silenced for over a decade, trapped in a nightmare disguised as love. The court heard her trembling voice through those words, describing how she had to move her entire family out of New York, terrified that Diddy might find a way out and come after.
As the world moves on, Diddy's empire crumbles piece by piece. The same celebrities who once called him brother have vanished. Brands have cut ties, artists refuse to be associated with him.
Behind closed doors, industry insiders whisper about sealed cases, hidden testimonies, and names that might still come out. Because for all the crimes Diddy's already faced, there are still too many questions, too many people who've stayed quiet. Gene Deal calls it Chapter 1, and he's right.
At this point, it's hard to say who's truly at fault. On one side, Selena had every right to live her life, to make her own choices, even to decide who to invite to her wedding. On the other, Francia had every reason to feel hurt, to want acknowledgement for what she'd done. Both of them were acting out of emotion, one out of guilt, the other out of pain. Maybe they just didn't know how to meet in the middle anymore. Fame, pressure, and now, as the world celebrates Selena's new chapter, people can't help but wonder what happens next, because Francia's silence doesn't sound like surrender. It sounds like preparation. She once said, "One day, maybe we'll address it." And when that day comes, it might change everything. Selena's image has always been built on kindness, empathy, and humility. But if the truth behind their fallout ever comes to light, fans might start seeing her differently. The story of their